Hey guys, Heavy Arms 45 here. Last weekend I told y'all that I was going to Anime Blues Con, and it was a decent con. There were some things I felt like dragged on, but it it was decent. I had saw some pretty good cosplays. Some once I went to the Anime Blues page, they were better than others, but that's besides the point. Well, actually, that is the point. You don't just go because of panels that they have, but to see the outfits people wear. It's like a giant fashion show in a way because you go there, see what people are dressed up as, basically sharing ideas of who your favorite characters are. And a lot of times it comes down to when you're looking at people's characters, you don't even care what the actual person's name is. You care about the character that they are. So I went up to somebody and I was like, "Hey, Luffy," and he didn't even recognize it, which I kind of felt offended by. 'Cause I'm like, "You dressed up as Luffy. That's who you are right now." If I came up dressed up like Shizuo from Durarara, I would expect somebody to call me Shizuo. My name is no longer Heavy Arms 45. It's gonna be Shizuo. You know, but I'm gonna make this versus battle that I have right here sort of quick because this one is a Star Trek one that I said I'm stepping away for a second from actual anime and doing stuff that's a little bit sci-fi that has nothing to do with anime, and that is the Q versus the Borg. And between the two, there is sort of a similarity between the two. When you look at the Q and the Borg in Star Trek, the Q are an ancient group. They are very sophisticated because they, well, not sophisticated, they're very powerful, and because of the amount of years they have, they've come to the knowledge to where they don't even actually need human bodies. But for people to be able to perceive who they are or perceive their presence, they take a human form. The Borg, on the other hand, is a one single entity that takes up several different bodies. That's why they call themselves collective. All their individual knowledge comes together to make one unified mind. So whatever one Borg knows, all the Borg knows. That's a part of the collective. There are some Borg that if they die, they'll just go ahead and like let them die and disconnect them from collective. Because it's not about the one person, it's about the group. The group is more important than one Borg. Which is odd when you get to Star Trek Voyager and you see that the Queen of the Borg, and there's actually is a Queen of the Borg, is trying to spend time trying to get Seven of Nine back for some reason. But oh well. But the fact of the matter is, dealing with this whole thing, if it was a one-on-one battle, the Q would most likely dominate the Borg for the sheer fact of um, the Borg actually have a physical body. They have a physical presence, while the Q are basically energy that can basically go wherever they want to, and also change. They can change different things into whatever they want to. Like we've seen them uh, transport a Borg from a Borg ship to Voyager. We've seen them be able to bring in a puppy from thin air, create flowers, send people to other parts of the galaxy with just a snap of their fingers. So the Q are a very powerful race. Nothing to no, they are something to write home about. They're not they're a big deal when you actually think. But at the same time, I want to go back to something that was said in Star Trek Voyager. Um, there was a youngling of the Q that was called Q Junior, and during a situation where he's playing around, he, as a joke, brings a Borg to the Voyager crew, and his father comes and says that we do not mess with the Borg. And that led me to wonder, well, and hence why I have this versus battle of what happened if a Borg did um did figure out how to get a Q. And that's really if a Borg was able to find a way of basically assimilating a Q, that would be the end of the Q continuum. Because it's sort of like there was a show back in a long time ago called Deadliest Warrior. And on Deadliest Warrior, they had a fight between zombies versus vampires. They had 5 vampires and like 100 zombies. And sure, both of them lost, and both vampires and zombies lost. But the thing about it was that the vampire killed the last zombie, but the zombie virus killed the vampire. And in that way, I feel like that's a slight problem you'll have if you had a fight between the Q continuum and the Borg. The Borg have sheer numbers, in a way, because no one has ever actually tried to find out. No one has actually searched for the Q continuum. If someone's able to get into the Q continuum, like the Borg, they probably would be able to assimilate some a one of the Q, and if they're able to do that, the whole continuum would be destroyed. Because you have to think about one Q has knowledge of years. In a matter of seconds, the continuum would basically become instantly Borg, and the rest of the world would also be Borg. Because the fact of the matter is, the Borg's assimilation of things is, for them, very much basic. But the basic ability of basically adding to their collective makes them a threat to the Q continuum. Because the continuum, as we found out in Voyager, is stagnant. There's not really many of them. There's, I'm not going to say a handful, but they figured out that they didn't need a physical body, and from that point, however many that there is, that's it. There's not like thousands of them like constantly having babies. Like, it was a big surprise that Q Junior was able to be born, and from the time he was born to the time that he turned to a teenager was probably within a day, maybe two. He basically, one day he woke up and he was an adult. Well, not an adult, a teenager. Basically running Captain Janeway bonkers in her own ship. So, I would like to say that I'm going to say right now that if it's just running into each other, the Q would win. But I do have to say that there is a slight chance, and I will say right now, very slight chance, that the Borg collective could take on just the continuum itself. And the question is, if the Q are so powerful, what threat there must be something that the continuum, that the collective can do to affect the continuum. Hence why Q was scared and literally showed fear in his face when he said, we do not mess with the Borg. Even though Q in Next Generation did bring humanity to the Borg to see this is what you'd have to face if you ever try to mess with them. You don't know everything, basically. And I think that's relatively all the information I have on that. And this wasn't really a fight, but kind of like a slobber knocker. It's just like, and I would like to know what y'all like to think. And I'm still waiting to see if somebody's gonna give me an idea of someone I can use to go against Akame from Akame Ga Kill. I'm looking for a swordsman that you think will be a good fighter for her. And I will catch you later.